Alok sir, over to you.
So now we are live. Yes, Dr. Nia, please go ahead.
Sir, I think Dr. Nia has internet issues. So shall we start introduction?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Dr. Andy Jasuja. I am Associate Dean in Agriculture Department at Nirvana in Jaipur. Today we have gathered virtually here for a national webinar entitled Climatic Change, Meaning, Evidences, Causes, Consequences, and Measures. Before beginning the session, there are two disclaimers, please. All the participants are requested to put their phone on mute unless it's their turn. If there are any queries or point of discussion, kindly write it in the chat box. It will be taken up after the session has ended. I would like to introduce all of you today's speaker, Dr. Seema Rani. She is currently working as Assistant Professor in Department of Geography, Institute of Science at Banaras Hindu University of Varanasi in India. She obtained her PhD in geography, which is entitled Effect of Climate and Land Cover Changes on Flow Regime in the Upper Beas River Basin from the Center for the Study of Regional Development of the Covered Jawaharlal Nehru University in 2018. She has also done MPhil in geography from JNU. She worked as assistant professor in the Department of Geography of Mirinda House, University of Delhi. She also did teaching assistantship in some of the department of JNU. She was also acted as a UGC SRF and JRF in 2012 to 17. She was awarded Best Paper Award in 4th International Conference of Science and Geopolitics of Himalayan Arctic in 2017. She has presented research paper in 23 national and international conferences. She has worked in area of hydrometeorology, especially evidence of climate change, variability, and their impact on hydrological responses of their Himalayan basin. So over to you, ma'am. For today's session, please lead the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I am really grateful to the organizing member of this webinar and for providing me this opportunity to interact with such a larger audience. Let me share this slide. I think it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, ma'am.
Okay, it is clear now. Okay. Shall I start?
Please, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So in today's lecture, we are actually talking about climate change. In climate change, I will be talking about meaning, its evidences, what are the causes, consequences, and what are the steps we are taking and has been taken till now. So my outline of the slides are, we are talking of meaning, evidences, causes, consequences, and the steps taken to overcome the problems of climate change. Now, first question that comes to our mind, what is the meaning of climate change? It has a similar relations with weather. What is weather? Weather is basically, we are talking about any parameters of the weather over a time. It can be today's time, it can be tomorrow's time. For example, I have taken one data of Jaipur city, and this data is basically of one single day. They are talking about what will be the weather of different consecutive days. So we call it a weather conditions. Now there are different elements of weather. We have air temperature, we have sunlight, rainfall, evaporation, moisture, and cloud conditions. What about climate? Climate is similar to weather, but when we are talking about weather over a period of 30 years, we call it a climate. Now, what will be the meaning of climate change? Climate change is basically when we are talking about a significant variation in the average weather conditions. It can be your temperature, it can be your rainfall, it can be your snowfall, cloud cover conditions, and several other elements which are part of the weather system. It means in climate change, we are talking about change over a period of time. According to World Meteorological Department, they are defining it as at least more than 30 years of data. If you have more than 30 years of data, it is easier to calculate climate change. Longer than that is also very good because it gives you more accuracy in terms of climate change. For example, there is one statement. They are talking about annual average temperature in the country. We are talking about India has risen to 0.29 degrees Celsius. And what is the time period? They have taken a time period of 1981-2010. So that's how we are defining climate change. Now, what is the difference between two? In weather, we are talking about day to day. In climate, we are talking about over a period of time. Though very elements in both weather and climate are same, there is no particular change. We can talk it climate in terms of decades also, in terms of centuries also, in terms of millennia also. It depends what kind of data you are choosing, at what spatial and temporal scale you are looking at. On the basis of that, we can define what is the climate conditions of a particular station. Now another question arises. How is climate change measured over the time? How will we quantify it? There are several sources which are available. Earlier, we have limited sources like observed data. We have limited stations, but over the period of time, your network of the meteorological stations have increased. So we have now satellite images. We have remote sensing data, which provide you day-to-day weather condition like geostationary satellites. Then there are another byproducts also like ERA data is also there, which provide you over a longer period of time. You can have a data since 1969. All the data sets have several limitations. When we are studying climate change, we need to go through the limitations of this particular. For example, in meteorological data, which is an observed data, it has the limitations in the Himalaya missing values. Similarly, satellite data of all these stations, or we can say any place of part of the world, is available since 1970. Before that, we don't have satellite data. It means before that, if we are going, we need to look at this paleoclimate data. How will you choose that data? It can be your ice cores. It is not a direct source, but it is an indirect indicators of climate change. After looking at your sediment dating we are doing, you can take tree ring samples also and look at what is happening in the past. On the basis of the past, we can see what are the different factors responsible in the past. And now on the basis of satellite meteorological stations, you are studying what are the factors responsible in today's climate change. So we have, is it really happening? If it is happening, several sources, researchers and IPCC report they are talking about that climate change is happening. We are even facing several issues over the time. Now look at what are the evidences. How can we say that climate is really changing? Though climate is changing in the over the geological time, like you have ice age time, now we are facing another climate change. We call it a global warming. So you have evidence of like global temperature rise. You have problem of ocean warming, shrinking of ice sheets, glacier retreat, decreased snow cover. Snow cover is also declining. You have Arctic sea ice is declining. Extreme events like your droughts, floods, and then you have cyclones activities. These extreme events are rising over the period of time. Okay, their frequency is increasing. Ocean acidification is also one of the results of the climate change, or we can say it is also an indicator that climate is changing. What is happening to global temperature change? In global temperature change, we are basically talking about air temperature. You can have land surface temperature, ocean temperature also. So according to World Meteorological Department, they are saying 1 degree Celsius warmer than before the industrialization. It means there is a rise of 1 degree in that time period. If you're talking about another statement, they are talking about 20th warmest year on record all occurred in the past 22 years. It means past 22 years are the warmest year till now. Another statement, they are talking about that average temperature for the 5 year, that is 2015 and 2019, And the 10-year, 2010 and 2009 periods are the highest on the record. It means temperature during these periods are highest. And now 2019 was the second hottest year on record, according to the World Meteorological Organization. The total annual global greenhouse gases, according to them, they reaches the highest in 2018, and they are not showing any sign of declining till now. So they will create a huge warming. Now, why it is happening? We have a term related to this climate change. We are talking about global warming also. This global warming is about long-term heating of the Earth system. And why this Earth system is happening? It may be happening because of your anthropogenic activities. We can include fossil fuel burning. It can be increase in the heat trapping greenhouse gases. That is also a result from the fossil fuel burning, and several other factors which are responsible. So you have some natural factors also which are responsible, but according to the latest report of IPCC, they are contributing more to the anthropogenic activities. That anthropogenic activities are more responsible than the natural factors. How this process work? Okay, how global warming is happening? Basically, when we are releasing different gases in the atmosphere, like you have greenhouse gases, dominant greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, you have methane also, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gases are also there. And besides them, you also have this water vapor. What is happening because of it? It acts as a greenhouse effect. What is happening? They are acting in the space and trapping the long wave radiations from the Earth's surface. So that's how, when they trap it, they create more heat in the atmosphere. More heat leads to more temperature conditions. So that's how they are acting as a, we can say, a cause of the global warming. If you look at the time period, we can call it an anomaly in the annual mean land temperature above, and they have taken this average of 1951 to 90. If we are comparing land surface temperature from this, they are getting that before 1940s, maybe around 1950, they are saying that this period does not have a warming, but particularly after that, your graph is going like this. So that is also very important, that since after 15, we can say near about 2000, your graph is going faster on the upper side. It may be reaching closer to the 1.5 degree. Latest, there is a report of IPCC. They are talking about global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. And under these conditions, there are going to be major effects on the elements of climate. And those effects will come directly to the human source. Now, in terms of temperature anomaly, what is happening? They are saying again that look at this margin of 1960. After that, they are saying that there is a drastic change and it is going up without showing any much, though there are fluctuations in between, but at least if you draw a complete graph, it is going up. And the baseline is again 1950-19. So they are showing that there is a 1 degree Celsius rise in the temperature conditions. What is happening to the global land and ocean temperature anomalies? 1880 to 2017. Again, this is also showing same trend that, okay, your ocean temperature and the land surface combinedly going upwards. And if they are coming closer to the 1 degree Celsius temperature. And again, there is a problem, though 1 degree Celsius, it is happening in a particular time period, but what will happen if it keeps on going like this in the coming future? There are several consequences. We will be talking about those consequences in the coming slides. Ocean warming, what is happening to the ocean warming? If you look at this map, you will find out, if we talk about trend in the ocean content, what is happening? Look at the red lines. These are the warming conditions. So cooling conditions are very rare. Most of the signatures, you will find that there is warming happening. How much warming is happening? They are saying that the ocean has absorbed up to 100 meters of, and that is showing a warming of more than 0.33 degrees Celsius since 1969. So Earth stores 90% of the extra energy in the oceans. So they are sinking shores also. That's why they are also very important for us. What is happening to the ice sheets? This is one example of Greenland, what is happening to the Greenland. If you look at the extent of Greenland in 1992, which is up to this, and in 2005, they are saying it is declining. And why it is declining? Because of the melting of the ice. And what is the lost? Greenland lost an average of 279 billion tons of ice per year between 1993 and 2000. While if we are talking about Antarctica, they are showing that 148 billion tons of ice per year we are losing. And that is also one evidence, or we can say in indicators of the climate change. What is happening to the glaciers? Glaciers particularly, of course, glaciers are there in every part of the world. You have Alps, you have Himalayas, Andes, Rockies, Alaska, and you have Africa also. But what's happening in Himalayas, which is closer to us also, okay, we are part of this chain of Himalayan mountains. And what is happening, glacier retreat is very common, though there are researches which are showing that Karakoram glaciers, they are rising rather than retreating. But what is happening in the remaining part, it is showing a declining trend. And declining trend is not a good indicator because these glaciers are source of water for us also. If they decline in somehow because of the climate change, there will be a problem of water scarcity in the coming years. There was a report of IPCC a few years back. They are talking about that they predicted or estimated that Indian Himalayas will vanish. I mean to say glaciers will vanish by 2030. But there were several questions which were raised that, okay, it cannot be happen and they need to rectify their methods of it. And then they take their statement back. Okay, no, it is not going to happen in 2030. But if you imagine that it may happen by 2050 or 2100, what will going to be the scenario for us? Because most of the rivers, your Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra, they have a source in Himalayas. So what will going to happen for them? And they are perennial river, because without Himalayas, what will be the status of those rivers? Now what is happening to the sea level rise? Your glaciers are melting. Somehow what is happening? Your water is contributed to the sea. And because of that, sea level is happening. It is in data of 1993-2009. What is happening to this? Change in sea level. You will find that most of the areas near to the continents, it shows a rise. Okay, so a rising level may vary up to 20 centimeter. According to them, global sea level rose about 20 centimeter in the last century. The rate in the last 2 decades is nearly double. It means the way we are going ahead, the last decade is most affected decades. Across the globe, average sea level increased by 3.6 millimeter per year. Between 2000, it means within a 10 years, there is a reduction of 3.6 millimeter. So what will going to, there can be an effect on the coastal cities, the coastal areas, your shipping activity, fishing activity. There are several activities which are going on the coastal areas. Rising sea level, of course, it will create new opportunities also, but at the same time, it will going to affect the people who are completely dependent on the oceans for their livelihood. Now, it is a forecast data. It is again taken from the IPCC. By 2100, under the medium and low emission scenario, they are saying that there are possibility of rise in water level from 0.8 meters. So it going to be more. And where are the different locations? They have predicted these are the possible locations near to the continents where there is a possibility of rise in the sea level. So it is one of the most important evidence of climate change. Now, besides your Antarctica, you have Greenland, you have declining Arctic sea ice also. This is one data which is taken from the NASA. They are talking about that per decade, so it can goes up to 20. But it is what is happening, it is declining. Look at the red color. So you will find that this is the complete area where you will find that, okay, though the rate is less, but it is showing a declining trend. So what is happening? Satellite data shows that the West Arctic sea ice is losing mass. A recent study indicate that East Antarctica is also losing it. So Arctic sea ice is showing a drastic change or declining trend, which is also a concern for many. And this is also one evidence that, okay, somewhere the climate is also changing. What about extreme events? Look at this graph. They're talking about since 1900, what is happening. they are taking flood, storm, and drought conditions. They are seeing that since this time period, 1970 and most of 1960, what is happening? Your drought are almost, and with the fluctuations, they are closer to the baseline. What is happening to this flood? See, there is huge rise in the floods between 2000 and 2010. Still, we have this year also, we have a flood in the Madhya Pradesh and several other locations they are facing. And when you look at those data sets, it means if you compare the current event with the past event, you will find the reports are saying that it is happening after a long period of time. It was not very common at the particular time because the bridges they have constructed those bridges on the basis of the past evidence. But today they are saying that it was never faced these issues. And there is a huge loss to the infrastructure which was based on the past evidences. It means we need more evidences also for infrastructure development in the areas which can be hit by any flood activities. Ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is also an issue. It shows that acidity of the ocean water has increased by 30%. What is happening? Increase is the result of human emitting more carbon dioxide, and oceans are absorbing carbon dioxide. So if you look at this graph, you will find the moment your CO2 level is rising, somewhere it is affecting your ocean water, and it leads to acidification in the oceans. And according to the current scenarios, your CO2 level in parts per million crossed your 300. Look at this graph. It is 2012 and it crossed your 300 also. It is going closer to the 400 parts per million. Under these conditions, and there is a continuous rise in the CO2, it means with any kind of fluctuations, we are not getting data which shows that there is a decline. Okay, so ocean has observed between 20-30% of total anthropogenic carbon dioxide, which is leading to the acidification of 30% of the ocean water. Now, there are several evidences which I have not taken here, like vegetation. Okay, so what is happening to the vegetation cover? There is a change in the vegetations. Vegetation can be talked as a species level also, in terms of diversity also, in terms of density also, though vegetation is also affected by your anthropogenic activities. It means deforestation. But at the same time, vegetation species are also affected by because of the climate change. Like in the Himalayas, if you look at the tree line is rising. Why it is rising? Because your snow is declining. Let me give you an example. I conducted one study in your Kullu district of Himachal Pradesh. In Kullu district of Himachal Pradesh, when I conducted a interview session, so they were saying that earlier they have apple plantations up to Thalaut. Okay, it is near to Bhuntar. But now the apple cultivation you will find beyond your Kullu or maybe beyond your Manali. Now the lower areas of your Kullu, it is a Bias catchment actually. So they are no longer growing any apple cultivation. They are shifting to another kind of plantations. And they are saying that though there are species, we are making development, like there are different species are coming and they are developing, hybrid varieties of apple that can be grown at warmer conditions. But farmers are saying that, okay, fine, it can be grown at warmer conditions, but they are not as tasty as compared to the earlier species. And their market value is not very high in that, in India actually, because we prefer different kinds of variety. So they are not getting those benefits which they were getting. Now the snow has declined in that area. So what is happening? Your tree line is also rising, or we can say increasing. What is happening to the animals? Animals are showing changes in terms of their physique. Okay, they are changing in terms of to adapt to the ongoing climate change. You have a famous example of polar bear. What is happening? Because of the declining your Antarctica ice sheets, your Arctic ice sheets, your Greenland, and northern and both southern hemisphere polar area. So what is happening to the polar bears? They are not getting their food in a shorter distance. Now they have to move longer distance for the same food. So what is happening? It means it is very harsh conditions for them, and survival is now a challenge for them. So that's how simple things are. Your flowering period is changing, your fruiting times is changing. For example, in my study, I have found that what is happening pre-monsoon time period, your snow is declining. What will happen because of that? Your water availability will shift to the pre-monsoon period. And pre-monsoon availability, because you don't need water at that particular time, you need water in the summer seasons. And shifting of this may shift your seasons of growing crops also. So these are the several evidences, though these evidences are also cause and somehow consequences of the climate change also, because everything in the globe is interconnected. If somewhere your ice is melting, it is leading to sea level. And if we talk about India, in India, if we talk about temperature conditions, we have a state of climate report, which is released by your Indian Meteorological Department. They are saying that there is a rise of 0.29 degrees Celsius. And what is the rise in terms of 0.3 degrees Celsius was less than the average global temperature. It means we are only 0.3 degree behind global temperature conditions. And according to this past decade, that is 2020, was the warmest on the record. Now, there is another study which has been done on the land surface temperature variability. They are also talking that look at the red color. In entire India, your night land surface, though the temperature, look at this thing also, that the data this is satellite data. We call it land surface temperature, is taken from the MODIS data, MODIS platform, and it between 2003 and 17. Whole night temperature is rising compared to your day temperature. In day temperature, it is not same everywhere, but look at your northeast, it is rising faster. Here you have certain issues. Now this temperature rising is also a consequences of the aerosols content in the air. That is also leading towards this. So your temperature conditions are changing. Then there is not only annual variations, there is also monthly variations. All months are not showing similar temperature conditions, or we can say similar warming conditions. You have a cooling conditions also some locations, so you have warming conditions also. So there is no particular pattern in the change, except that, okay, these areas are facing cooling conditions also, but this data is shorter period of time. If we have a data of more than like 30 years, we will be more specific in the results. So we need longer time period. That is the limitations of remote sensing data. So similarly, it is also happening. If you compare this graph with this graph, it shows that your night temperature is rising faster than your daytime temperature, or we are talking about land surface conditions. What is happening to the extreme events? Your floods, cold waves, then you have hot waves, they are rising. According to the report, Preparing India for Extreme Climate Event released by Council on Energy, Environment and Water, over 75% of the districts in India are hotspot of extreme climate conditions. For example, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar reported the highest casualties due to cold waves, lightning and thunder last year. So that's how situations is changing because of. So these are indicators of climate change. What about tropical storms? Now you will heard in your newspapers that every day what you are getting, every day you are getting, okay, this cyclones is coming. Reports are saying that there is an increase in the frequency of tropical cyclones in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal ports. So now we are frequently facing the cyclones conditions, and facing frequent cyclone conditions require money also, because we need to do for resettlement also, we need to recreate the infrastructure also. That's how they are creating issues for us also. And so they are creating a problem for the economy. Rainfall conditions, what is happening? In annual rainfall over the country in 2020 was 109 of the long period average. It means it is higher than the previous, but sometimes it is lower than. It means there is no particular pattern in rainfall. Most of these studies in India, they are not saying that there is a particular pattern of rainfall. Some areas are facing more rainfall, and most important factor which is related to the climate change is uncertainty. Uncertainty in terms of your extreme events, uncertainty in terms of your temperature conditions, in terms of your rainfall. So things are more uncertain now. Now, what will going to happen in the future? They're saying that your temperature can exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, there could be a possibility that it could rise 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, but this is by the end of this century. Now, these predictions are based on the past data. Now, there is a report of 1.5 global warming if happen somehow. What will be the effect of those warming? Because we need to prepare ourselves or what will happen in the futures also. But whatever in the past, we need to learn from that and we have to plan for the future. So that's how there is a policymakers are showing concern that if there is going to be a rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius, it will be very, very difficult situations for India. So it means there is an adaptation quality of every planet, but beyond that, there are going to be serious issues for humans also. Now, what are leading to all these causes? You have natural causes also, you have anthropogenic causes also, but according to the report of IPCC, they are contributing it to the anthropogenic activities. They are saying that climate change is also a natural cycle. It was happening in the past, it is happening now also, but what is the change? Change is related to the causes. Now, the anthropogenic factors are more responsible for climate change compared to the natural factors. Let's see how they are affecting. You have a tectonic activities. What is happening because of the tectonic activities? There are byproducts of your tectonic activities like your volcanic eruptions. You have earthquakes also. What is happening because of the volcanic eruptions? It leads to different gases in the atmosphere and creating, changing the chemistry in a particular locations. And if these activities are happening more frequently, they are adding greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. And somehow greenhouse gases then act and leading to the greenhouse effect and leading to global warming conditions. So what kind of gases? They are leading in sulfur dioxide, other aerosols in the stratosphere, and they are reducing the atmospheric transparency also. So the amount of radiation that is reaching the Earth's surface, what is happening when it is going back? They act as a shield and they are not allowing it to move out and raising the temperature within the troposphere. And that's because of it, your global warming is happening. And it is happening in relation to all the gases which are acting as a greenhouse effect. But besides these gases, water vapor itself is a very dominant greenhouse gas. Okay, it is, though it is temporary in nature, but it is affecting. So what is happening since the Industrial Revolution began in 1750, CO2 level have risen more than 30%. So what will happen because of this? Concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere is higher than any time. They are talking about, 8 lakh years. Other greenhouse gases can be methane, your nitrous oxide, and released from the anthropogenic. Again and again, your IPCC and other reports are leading, saying that it is because of the humans. We are contributing so much to the atmosphere. Now, if we're talking about the contribution, this is an IPCC report of 2004. So global greenhouse emissions by economic sector, what is happening? Electricity and heat production are contributing more, followed by your agriculture, forestry, and other land use. So these are the dominant factors for emissions. What about the top emitters? Top emitters are China, followed by US, EU, but we are also not very far behind. We are standing at the 4th positions according to 2018 data. It means we are also one of the contributor of carbon dioxide. And that's how there are negotiations at the global level among the countries that who is supposed to stop, or we can say minimize the emitters, whether the developed countries has to do or whether the India or we can say other developing countries are supposed to take an initiative. So there are negotiations because developing countries are saying that, okay, developed countries has to go because they have already did it up to that level. But developed countries are saying, okay, you have different, you can do technology transfer, you can take another initiatives and minimize it. That's why you have electric vehicle conditions now, initiatives are taken. You have green energy initiative taken. So all initiative like your CNG was at what particular time was taken in Delhi to control the air pollutions, because somehow your air pollutions, you are also, they are acting as a shield towards the long wave radiations. Now, what is happening because of all the changes around the world? You have species extinction, you have ocean acidification, as I told you. that whatever the factors I was mentioning before as evidences are also the consequences of the climate change. You have migrations. Migration is both in terms of your humans also, in terms of your um, animals also, and migration is also happening because of the vegetations, because now we are growing vegetations on a different kind of conditions because temperature has changed. If the temperature is changing, your cropping system will also change. If temperature is changing, your plantation will also change. Okay, and there are several examples where people are saying that because of, as I given one example of the apple, oxygen depletion is also one of the factor. I will explain. Then you have water resources. As I told you, if your glacier are retreating, your ice is melting faster than the before time period. There is a shift in the seasons also. So water availability and the quantity. It means in which seasons it is available and how much it will be available. This both will be affected by the climate change. Natural disasters, you have cyclonic conditions, as I mentioned, that frequency is rising. Then you have another example of flood conditions. This time also we are facing conditions. If I give you one example, in this, I think in this year, Delhi is not has not received much rainfall compared to the past year. There is a late, receiver of this rainfall, and that's how it is creating a problem, because these farmers need water in a particular seasons. But if there is a change in the water availability, what will going to happen to the cropping patterns? Health issues. We are facing several health issues also because of the climate change. Impacts of 1.1 degrees Celsius increase are here today, increase the frequency and magnitude of extreme events. Global average temperature in 2009 was 1.1 degree above the pre-industrial period, according to the World Meteorological Department. Now 2009 concluded a decade of exceptional global heat. And why it is? Because of the greenhouse emissions, which has contributed by the human activities. What about social and economic impacts? Is there any social and economic activities? Earlier, we were only talking about, okay, climate change will going to affect the physical aspects of the Earth system. But now, over the time, people are saying that no, there are socio-economic impact of the climate change. IPCC is focusing on all kinds of impact. What will happen because of that? Relocation of whole towns, shrinking productivity of the harvest, prices of basic foodstuffs and consumer goods will rise. Extreme meteorological phenomena will cause widespread poverty. You have disease will be spread due to high temperature. Fresh water will be in short supply in some areas. This fresh water is basically because of your glacier melting and glacier retreat and the snow melting, which is happening. But at the same time, this shortage of the water is also contributed by us, but because somewhere humans are polluting the water. So it's not only climate change, but somewhere our day-to-day life, or we can say our lifestyle, which is leading to some problem. So we are adding to what is happening because of the climate change. More wars to gain access to the limited resources. If climate is changing, your water is one of the source of livelihood. If there is no water, I think life is not possible. It is not at all possible. So they're saying that Third World War may be possible because of the water. It may not be. It may not be, because every time, whenever there are changes happening, initiatives are taken. So people are doing adaptations. They are developing some kinds of technology to overcome. Suppose we have a technology to convert your ocean waters into fresh water. So what will be happen? But who will bear the cost of that? As somewhere we are also talking about there going to be poverty. So under that condition, is it possible to convert that water for the larger population? It means somewhere our huge population can also be a problem behind it. Loss of capacity to work. Every time in Delhi or North India, there are red signals related to heat. The temperature is rising, please stay at home. It leads to stroke. So people are losing work, they are losing capacity to work. and it is happening because of the excess heat conditions, particularly in the May and April and May, when we are facing low months, basically. The cost of adapting coastal areas to the rising sea levels. What is happening? Everywhere you are developing an infrastructure along the coastal areas, but what is happening because of the frequency of the your cyclones, because of the increasing cyclones conditions, your coastal areas are suffering. So every time when there is a cyclone, you need to redevelop the infrastructure. So it means you are adding cost of the adaptations also. And somehow the people, we are living closer to that particular environment or coastal ecosystem. We cannot avoid their activity. We cannot stop those activities. It means we need to do development also, but at the same time, we have to adapt to whatever the changes are happening. So we cannot deny the development. We cannot stop it at a particular place, okay? Because the cyclone frequency has increased, stop all the fishermen to their activities, to stop their activities in the area, but their livelihood depends on them. So we need to come up with a solution that work on it. So what is happening on the human health also? You have an asthma issue, you have malaria, dengue, you have several respiratory allergies are happening because of the rising temperature. You have dry conditions. Because of the dry conditions, you have more aerosols in the air. And because of the aerosol conditions, we have in April and May, like in the summer seasons, we have more asthma patients. That is also happening because of the water and food supply. What is happening? You have malnutrition conditions. You have forced migrations. You have civil conflict, mental health issues. You have heart-related issues, heat-related illness also. So mental health, it is saying when you have extreme conditions of the temperature, somehow it is also affecting your working capacity also. It also affects your mental balance also. Mentally, it means it is a very hot conditions. It is very difficult to work. Even in Delhi, during the summer season, what happens? ACs are not very good in functions. Okay, it means we need to think beyond that also. That what can be done. Now, what are the steps taken over the time? There are several steps taken since the studies are highlighting that, okay, there is a change in the climate. So we are looking for the solutions. At the same time, we are trying to understand the science of climate change also to improve our understanding of the climate change, so that we can find out more stabilized solutions, so that we can control the greenhouse gases and we can minimize their impact, because we cannot stop it. Stopping cannot be a solution, but how can we divert to different, like green, we can use more renewable energy sources. We can cut the fossil fuel emissions, how it is possible. So several states, or we can say at the global scale, we all are working towards it. So to prevent a warming beyond 1.5, we need to reduce emissions by 7.6% every year until how? 2030. I don't know how far it can be possible. 10 years back, if countries has acted on this science, governments would have needed to reduce emissions by 3.3% each year. Every year we fail to act, the level of difficulty and cost to reduce emission goes up. Now they are saying the nation agreed to a legally binding commitment in Paris to limit global temperature to not more than 2 degrees Celsius above the pin, but also offered national pledges to cut or curb their greenhouse emissions by 2030. So somehow we are making targets to reduce the emissions, but because of your several issues, because of your own diversity of a particular country, we are not able to do it up to that level. It means we are not able to achieve the targets. But every year we are setting the targets and at least trying something to move towards those targets. Now, in Paris agreements, you have, was taken place in 2020 climate change conference known as COP26. If I, in the next slides, I will mention its timeline. So it was taken in United Nations Framework on Climate Change in 1992. And since then, we have several conferences. So we have in 2019, we have COP25. Every year we are trying to understand the situations, we are taking how much the targets are achieved or how far we need to go. But every time we are trying our level best to minimize the impact of climate change, to improve our adaptation qualities towards climate change, and make a balance between your several activities in a way to control the climate change, or to some extent we can minimize the climate change. Then initiatives of Government of India. Indian government has taken a first initiative in 2008, and they are outlining 8 national missions. Now, in those missions, we have national solar missions, we have mission for enhanced energy efficiency, we have missions of sustainable habitat, water mission for sustaining the livelihood of the ecosystem, for green India, for sustainable agriculture, and strategic knowledge for climate change. Like you have National Action Plan on Climate Change, we also have State Action Plan on Climate Change, which has taken place in 2009. It means at national level, we are talking about this, but every state has to make an action plan on the basis of the diversity of the state and the level of problems they are facing in their states. Among the two, Department of Science and Technology coordinating two. Number one is your National Mission for Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystem. Studies believe that Himalayas are more vulnerable to this change. Why? Because we have ice, we have glaciers in Himalayas, and they are more prone to the warming. What will happen if there is a 1 degree Celsius rise in the temperature? They're going to be more melting in the Himalayas. And Himalayas are most important for India because we have a source of largest rivers from this, like you have Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. So in the absence of the Himalayan ecosystem, or in the deteriorating conditions of the Himalayan conditions, there is a concern that how can we minimize the impact of climate change in the Himalayan ecosystem. So there are several activities. They are looking at the capacity building. They are trying to improve the knowledge also about the climate change. They are trying to adopt new method for assessing the health of the Himalayan ecosystem. They are doing assessment and the quantifications of the Himalayan ecosystem. And at the same time, they are also looking at what are the adaptations we can adopt in terms of, in the policies of Himalayan range, or means all the states, whether it is a Jammu Kashmir, you have Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, then you have Meghalaya, Tripura. In all the states, there is a need of well coordinated plan in terms of to beat the climate change, or to control, or to control the conditions of climate change, or the way we can fight towards this. So you have another national mission on strategic knowledge for climate change. It is also part of the DST. What is happening? They are looking for the formation of knowledge network, because according to them, in some areas there are still problem, like Himalaya. There are problem of stations, meteorological stations. So we have limited stations. Most of the stations are located in the valleys, and those who are located, those which are located in the interior part of the Himalayas, they are very difficult to maintain. It is very difficult because under frozen conditions, there are data gaps. We don't have data of extreme winter seasons. And sometimes avalanches. Suppose I give you an example of Chamoli flood, what happens? And there is a destruction of this particular dam, and several other issues are also happening at the same time. So this site, or we can say observatories, are disturbed by the climatic conditions also, your weather conditions also. Several disasters are also happening, and that's how we need to be more conscious about the Himalayas and several other locations also. We are not only improving our knowledge, but at the same time, if we know that climate is changing, we need to understand how far they can impact your agriculture, your health, your natural ecosystem, biodiversity, and coastal zones. Means if there is a rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius, we need a precision in the estimation that how far they can impact and how many people will be affected by it. And in agriculture, which crop, which species will be affected? Is there any change in the cropping seasons? If there is a change in the cropping season, what are the different crops we can grow? Like in, if you look at Punjab, Haryana, or Western UP, what is happening over there? There is a monoculture. What is happening in the monoculture? They have 2 crops in a year only. It means one season they are growing 1 crop on the larger area, and which is also not good for the health of the environment. So by following such activities, somewhere we are also increasing the impact of the climate change. Though it is completely, we are not growing wheat because of the climate change. We are growing wheat because of the market conditions, because we have a value in the market. So somehow, because of the several other, because all factors, economic, your social, your political, or your physical environment, they are all connected with each other. If you're taking one initiative at one side, it will going to affect the other side also, because we are not living in isolations. And whatever the effects we are creating in India, it has a global impact also. It means if there is a problem, it means global emissions, like we are standing at the 4th position. So whatever we are doing, it is affecting others also. It means on the planet Earth, we are integrated parts. Though there are boundaries, but climate change has no boundary. It is impacting everyone around the globe. Then you have national adaptation. You have National Adaptation Fund on climate change also. This fund is basically to meet the cost of adaptation to climate change for state and union territories of India that are particularly vulnerable to the adverse conditions. So this fund is released for the activities like your state action plan on climate change or national action plan on climate change. Then you have climate change action program. Various other science initiatives are planned by ministry as climate change action program. So what is happening? They are taking, for example, National Carboneous Aerosols Program. They have taken long-term ecological observatories, coordinated studies on climate change for Northeast. It means they are giving opportunities to conduct studies which are part of the climate change action program. Then in India, spreading climate change, it was a press release by the government of India in 2009. And they are mentioning that they are taking several initiatives. For example, your International Solar Alliances, your faster adoption of manufacturing hybrid and electric vehicle, FAME. You have Amrut, we can call it Atal Mission for Regeneration and Urban Transformation for Smart Cities. You have Pradhan Mantri Ujala Yojana, where we are talking about clean cooking fuel. Then you have Ujala Yojana, where we are talking about Unnat Jyoti by affordable LEDs for energy efficient LED bulbs. Then you have Swachh Bharat Mission, which is also very popular initiative, which is taken by the government. Beside this initiative, there are initiatives. It means every policy, whether it is taken in terms of your economy, whether it is taken in terms of your water, it means national water policy, vehicle policy, your market policy, your policy on the socio-economic aspects, all are connected. For example, if the government is taking an initiative to increase or improve the literacy rate among the people, what will happen because of the literacy? Because of the literacy, there will be more awareness among the people. If there is an awareness, there are possibilities of changing the behavior of the people. If there is a change in the behavior, they're going to contribute to minimize the problems of climate change by taking smaller steps. Now, what are those smaller steps? We, as an individual, as an institutions, academic body, what we can do? What is our role? Because government is taking their initiative, whether it is state level, block level, district level, or national level. Then there is an international level, and at global scale, everyone is taking initiative. But we as an individual, a part of the institution, what we can do? We can urge the government to take bold and ambitious climate. You will heard that, suppose, for example, we are now part of this webinar. This webinar is also one initiative towards the understanding of climate change, to aware people about its impact, to aware people about its signs, so that the people who will understand about the climate change through this webinar will transfer this understanding to other people also, maybe to their kids, maybe to their neighbors, maybe to their friends, that okay, no, this is happening around the world, so please be careful about it. Then you have use energy wisely. Everywhere, every time we are saying that okay, switch off the fans when you don't need it, don't turn off AC when it is not required, switch off the lights or use LEDs. So why are we saying this? We are saying it because if we consumer, because we are as consumer can impact the supply also. If we consume less, there will be a control on the supplier side. But if the demand is rising, for example, a few days back, there was a news that, okay, there is a shortage of oil, shortage of power because of the thermal plants. And why it is happening? Because of other factors. But imagine the same scenario in the future. If there is a shortage of coal, what will happen to the power supply? Because our percentage, majority of the power or energy we are taking from the non-renewable energy resources. From the solar light, people are making use of the solar panel also. So it means we an individual, if we can afford solar panel, we can use those also. We can use, electric vehicles. We can use more cycles if you are going to the smaller distance. And these are the small initiatives. But if every individual is taking the initiative, it leads to a larger impact on the policy also. It means somewhere you are contributing. Start a climatic conversation. I think this webinar is a very, very fine example to start a climate conversations. Okay, it can be among the friends, it can be among the organizations, or it can be among the neighbors who's in your community. Wherever you are, you can just start a conversation so that people, there is an awareness among the people. Green your commute, it means make use of bicycle, electric vehicles, so that you can minimize load on the non-renewable energy sources. Consume less, waste less. Every time we are talking about, there is a wastage of food in India. And many people are poor, and they are saying that according to their government data, there are 80 crore people in India who depends on the free food. So why such situation is happening? If such situation is happening, then there is a problem in the coming future, because with poverty, it is very difficult to say that how far we will be able to defeat this problem of climate change or minimize the problem of climate change. We need money for that. Our economy should be strong. So somewhere our consumers' behavior is very important over here. Invest in renewable and diverse from the fossil fuel. You have one example of solar panel. If you as an individual can invest, if you can afford it, or you can divert from your petrol or diesel car to the electric cars. You have electric two-wheeler vehicles also. You have electric auto rickshaws also. That's how you can do. Mobilize for local climate actions. There are several initiatives taken by NGOs also. What they are doing, they are going from village to village, maybe in the hilly areas also, backward areas also, maybe within the slums also, and trying to improve the quality of life of the people. What will happen because of improving the quality of the people? Because if you don't have food to eat, you won't be thinking about climate change. If I don't have, a fixed food time, maybe I don't know what will happen in the next 2 hours. If I don't know what will happen in the evening, if you tell those people that, okay, we need to, think about climate change, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in that way. So we need to be with them, and we need to improve their quality of life also, so that they can think for the bigger cause also. Public awareness and participation. Again, I will say this webinar is one wonderful initiative to create public awareness and participation, because through this lecture, maybe several people are getting to know some idea, and they are getting an idea that, okay, something is happening around the world and there are certain role, we are also part of it and we can play our role. And that's how we all together in our own way can minimize the impact of the climate change. So besides your government initiatives, we also play a very important role. So we need to think about our role towards the fight of climate change. So with this, I'm ending this lecture, and I hope this lecture maybe have some meaning or maybe useful for creating awareness of climate change. So with this, I'm saying just a thank you to the organizing member and everyone who is just watching me on this platform.
Dr. Neha, over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Seema, for thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. I thought that probably coming from you, being so professional and having such in-depth knowledge about geography, especially climate change being your sphere, you would go a little technical about the subject. But besides being technical, you could explain us in such a manner that even a person not with the geography background or not having a specialized knowledge in the particular sphere could even easily understand what you were trying to say. And thank you so much. I am sure when you ended by saying that so many people, that we ourselves having a webinar organized, people are themselves becoming sensitized about the issue. That is one of the small steps that we at an individual or organizational level can. Thanks to Nirvan University that it took the initiative of holding a webinar on such an essential, quintessential, I would say, issue in today's time. And it was so wonderful having you, having your professionalism being shared with us. Hope that we have more of such discussions with you in future. Thank you so much. And thank you for the audience being patient. Thank you.